Today's episode of the WAC Podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. Now here are your hosts, Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil.
Welcome back to the WAC Podcast. As promised, we are joined by the Commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference, Jeff Hurd. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, Eric. Pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure. And there was a big press conference on Thursday, Jeff, and you mentioned you've been in the conference for many, many years, and that could be the biggest day ever in your professional experience. Now you've had a few days. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I do, Eric. You know, when I was preparing some notes for last Thursday, my original comment was going to be that it was among the best. And I thought about that, and I said, you know what, it's not among the best, it is the best, or the most significant. The most, as I think the proper term would be, it's historic. It really is for this conference, for the impact it has on the conference, both short and long term.
What does this mean for the stability of the WAC?
Well, it certainly puts us in a much better position than we were in prior to the admission of the five institutions. You know, there's never a guarantee of anything, as we've learned through the years, but it puts us in a much better position. It strengthens us from a number of ways, and primarily it makes us more financially sustainable as a conference. It makes some sense of our geography, the ability to create divisions and to create conference play in divisional setups only prior to conference championships. I think is a huge move. You know, it strengthens our basketball overall. It gives us football under our umbrella again, which opens up other channels from media rights standpoints, and just makes us more whole as a conference, and I believe creates a very solid foundation as we move forward.
We're talking with Jeff Hurd, Commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference. You mentioned football, Jeff, but also basketball, and that was talked a lot about at the press conference, that this could potentially be a two-bid league given the strength of the schools coming in and the strength of the schools already in the WAC.
Yeah, no question about it. This move, I think it was a little bit, at the beginning, many people thought this was a football-inspired move, and while I think football is a benefit of it, and I certainly wanted to have football back under the WAC umbrella, it's as much about basketball and other team sports and other individual sports, both on the men's and women's side, as it is anything. We have strengthened the conference in all of the now 20 championship sports that we're going to sponsor. And I think, you know, from an NCAA standpoint, NCAA strength, NCAA tournament standpoint, and other sports, again, we are put ourselves in a much better position to be a multi-bid conference in not only basketball, but also other sports.
6 schools now from Texas. I was monitoring all the social pages during the announcement. I swear 50% of Texas followed us because they were all so excited. So what does it mean to have 6 schools in Texas?
Well, I think there are a couple things. One, right off the bat, one of the things it does for us is helps create rivalries, and not create rivalries, it's just renew rivalries that have already been in place in their previous conference. And to have a multi-number of schools in one state creates more interest throughout the state rather than just in pockets. So I think that's a big advantage of that. We have a similar situation in Utah, not quite the same numbers, but with 3 Utah institutions now in the conference. You know, we have more situations where fans are able to drive to the opposing, you know, whatever the opponent might be for a given sport on a given weekend. It creates just more interest statewide and conference-wide now that you have rivalries that are going to be front and center as we move into conference play.
Jeff, we had that press conference in Houston at NRG Stadium, a place I had not had the opportunity to go before. You mentioned that you'd been there for the Final Four. They've hosted a Super Bowl, and what a complex that is. The Astrodome, I had no idea was still in existence right across the street as part of that complex. But one of the reasons to have it there, obviously with the 4 new Texas schools, Southern Utah also coming in, but their proximity to Houston and the fact the Battle of the Piney Woods football game is played there every year between Stephen F. Austin State and Sam Houston State, and they draw more than 25,000 fans per year to that game. It's really a big deal in that particular area.
Well, it's a huge deal in that area. And as everybody knows, football and Texas are pretty synonymous, yes. And, you know, I thought the setting, Eric, and you alluded to this, was perfect because not just that particular game, but also there are college bowl games that are played there. There are other college games played in that facility. The NCAA basketball Final Four was there 4 years ago. It's going to be there again in 2 more years. So that's adds another element to the location of our press conference that's pertinent to our conference. But just the level of interest in the state and the level of interest that was indicated, you know, by the number of people at the press conference, I thought was outstanding, and really look forward to, as we move on here and we're actually starting football now a year earlier than we had anticipated. So, you know, we're right now trying to figure out, we've got to put a schedule together here pretty quickly.
What can you tell us about the timetable for these new schools now that you say that?
Well, our expansion with the 4 Texas schools will begin now with the 21-22 season for all sports. Southern Utah will remain in the Big Sky Conference for the 21-22 season, but because the Southland Conference made a decision to hasten the exits of the 4 members there, we're going to bring them on board and with the WAC effective at 21-22. Now that's going to take some time and getting schedules put together, and obviously we have to blow up the ones we have right now and create some new ones. But you know that will be done. There's going to be there's no time to rest, I guess is the best way to put it. We're going to be putting a lot of time and effort into getting things underway, beginning with the football season in September, early September of this fall.
Yeah, pretty amazing. It'll be starting that quickly. We're talking to Jeff Hurd, Commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference. And Jeff, along with the announcement of the 5 new schools, Chicago State did announce their departure effective July of 22. And there's also been talk that the WAC is going to be looking actively for a 14th member. Can you shed some light on those 2 subjects?
Well, yes, Chicago State will be leaving the conference after the 21-22 season. They'll be leaving on good terms, and you know we wish them the best, and we'll do what we can to help them find another home. But relative to the 14th member, or in essence a 7th member of the what we're calling now the Southwest Division, we are seeking that additional member. We don't feel a sense of urgency to it, Eric, but we are vetting some institutions, and we will sit down at some point with the newly configured conference and determine what we think is in the best interest. Now that in a perfect world, that 7th member or 14th member, depending on how you look at it, would be one that's geographically compatible with the 6 Texas institutions that we have. And it could mean another Texas school. It could mean, you know, one that's in close proximity from a travel standpoint. We just don't know yet. We need to see what our options are, and whether that's another Division I institution, or if it's a Division II institution that wants to transition. You know, a lot of questions to be answered. But again, I don't feel a sense of urgency. At the same time, you know, we're not going to let this go too long before we make that decision.
Jeff, thanks for hopping on the podcast with us. As always, it's an honor to sit down and chat with you, and congratulations on the huge announcement as well.
Well, thank you. A lot of people were involved in it, Rachel, and you know, you don't do something like this with one person. You do it with everybody. And I really, as I said this at the press conference, I'll say it again, without the cooperation, without the collaboration, without the support of all 13 presidents involved in this and all 13 athletic directors, this couldn't have happened. And as I look forward to the new year, that's going to be a critical element to the success of our expansion.
All right, that is Jeff Hurd, Commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference. When we come back, we're going to talk WAC basketball on the WAC Podcast.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.